Good morning. Welcome to Lifebox Media Channel Radio Podcast. Today it's my esteemed pleasure to have on. She's a country legend. Miss Crystal Gayle, how are you today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me on.
It's a true pleasure, ma'am. It's a true pleasure. How you holding up through all this pandemic and everything else going on right now?
Oh, there's the high days and there's the low days.
This is probably the most time you've had off in your career, right?
Oh, definitely the most time. Even when I had children, it didn't take off that long.
Right. Definitely. You were such, I'll tell you what I was reading, and I remember this obviously from growing up, but you were one of the first people to cross over in the mainstream in the 70s and everything else with your music that went on the pop charts and everything else. I mean, did you realize then how much of a trailblazer you were?
We didn't really think about it at that time. It was more, you'd go in the studio and you'd record the songs you loved and hope for the best. And every now and then you'd do good. and with Don't Make My Brown Eyes Blue, that song was so special. I loved it the first time I heard it, but I didn't know what it was going to do. And it's a song that does not come around very often, and I'm sure glad I got it.
B.J. Thomas said to me that he says every once in a while you just hear that hundreds of songs you hear, one just grabs out, and I think you just echoed that same thing. Something just sticks out and you grab it, and I think you're saying the same thing. It's just one of those magical things.
It was a song that Alan Reynolds, my producer at that time, he heard the song, and actually they were going to send it to California for a couple people to listen to. And when Alan heard it, he said, "You're not going to send that anywhere." So we almost missed it.
Oh, wow. That's great. Thank you for sharing that.
And it was a very first take, too. That was a live version in the studio. Well, Alan put strings on it. I did try to re-sing it, but we kept the original vocal. It was a performance with the whole band. We were like on stage that night.
And that was a rarity at that time, wasn't it?
Well, I'm not really sure about what other people would do, but a lot of our, for a first take, definitely.
Yes.
As far as vocals, sometimes I would keep my my first performance on it. I don't know, with the band, I think there's an excitement when you're in the studio with everybody.
Yes, for sure. I mean, and things have just stuck from then on. And by the way, I read this, and I wanted to bring this up, that, you were put into the Native American Music Awards Hall of Fame, and you're Cherokee Indian, and so am I. So I want to say congratulations for that. That is really special and very awesome.
Well, thank you. That's a highlight for me. That's one of my favorite honors. I'm very proud of my American Indian blood. And, they don't get the recognition that they need to.
Yes, ma'am, and I'm so glad I got a chance to bring that up to you. I saw that, and I was like, wow, I have to mention that at least a little bit on there.
We might be related.
Yes, ma'am, just might be. But by the way, so when you were growing up, who were some of the influences did you always know that, from you were a little kid, I wanted to be a singer and I want to be an entertainer?
When I grew up, I loved music. I loved singing. My mother said I could sing before I could walk. So, music has been in my soul for a long time. But of course, growing up, the sister of Loretta Lynn,
yes, ma'am,
did not hurt, in the sense of, we went to her concerts. She'd call me up. I was that little act. That kid act that's always really good, no matter what. People, she'd call me up on stage, and I get to sing a song. It was just so great, and music. It was not just okay. I want to go on stage and be a big star or an entertainer, or it was just you love singing, and
yes,
and I always use the phrase that music heals, because it does.
Yes, it does.
And it heals in so many ways, and that's really one of the main reasons that I think I was in music, because music healed me, I think, in ways.
I love that. Who were some of your influences back then? Of course, your sister, your legendary sister being aside, who were some of your influences growing up?
Of course, Brenda Lee.
Yes, ma'am.
And you might know that my real name is Brenda.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
Brenda's the reason I had to change it.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that part.
I was with Decca Records, and they only wanted one Brenda on the label. So Loretta thought of Crystal, and she said it was very bright and shiny. But of course, it was the Crystal hamburger chain that that really sealed the deal.
I love that. That
So I'm named after a hamburger.
I love that. That is great. Now, as far as the fact of you as you were coming along, is there times did you realize that all of a sudden when did you realize, hey, look, I'm really in this for the haul. I love this, and this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life.
I look at it, and right out of high school, I started working the road. I mean, not doing a lot, but I would get my little contracts for the club, and I didn't have a band, and I would use the bands that were the house bands.
Right.
And I mean, that's not easy to do.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. Just to walk in there. Here's my music.
And I did not play guitar on stage, or I was just a singer out there, and I learned how to sing songs in different keys and different melodies. Because when they changed, I did. I went with the way they went.
There wasn't a start in the key of E and let's go.
Yeah, we just did it. I changed the melody to make it fit.
I like that. And by the way, I saw something that was very interesting with your new album out. Okay, You Don't Know Me, which by the way we were listening to in the car on the way. And really enjoyed the album. Matter of fact, one of my favorite songs on there was "Put It Off Until Tomorrow." By the way.
Oh, I was so happy that Loretta wanted to do that, and she came in the studio. And if I'd had 10 tracks already recorded, she would have sung every one of them. I mean, it was like, what's next? And I'm like, well, they only told me to do one. We could have had the album that we've talked about many, many years.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Now, your son also helped produce that, didn't he?
He co-produced and he mixed everything. And, really that's the main reason I started that particular album was because I wanted Chris to hear and know what real country music was all about, what I grew up singing, what I grew up listening to. And that was really the main reason that I wanted to do that for him, and he was so great. And we probably have enough for another album, which maybe I should just put it on out there anyway.
Right, there you go. There you heard it here first. Now, what was it like working with your son in the studio? I mean, you've worked with your sister all these years. What was it like working with your son in the studio? Did he learn a lot from mom, or in the family, or how did he get? How did he feel about how was he managing in the studio?
He did great. It was one of those that, we didn't argue too much or anything like that. But of course, mother knows best. So mother's going to get her way.
Right.
Now, we actually learned from each other, and he came from the new style of country, the new style of music. And to let him see what the old style was, and the sense of recording and hearing some of these great musicians that came and played on the session, it was a wonderful time.
I think it's great that you guys could take the time and work together, and it's something that you guys will always have that time in memory of working together, and bringing the new part of of music, and you working with him, and I think that's really cool that you guys could do that. And come out with such a nice album.
It was a lot of fun, and of course he does his own music as well. He's doing producing other people and writing with other people, and doing more of what is out there, that the synth pop and all the things that's out on the radio, and he loves it.
That's awesome. Good. That's awesome. Does he have a company you want to give a shout out to, or give his name a shout out?
Well, his Audio 51 Music is the company. I mean, Chris Goodseamus. On my album, his name's there. He's got his website. I should have had it down for everybody.
I'll make sure to post it up, man.
I'm not really good at all this network out there. It's like when I go on. I mean, the other day I found out I had blocked myself on Facebook. You asked me how I did that. I do not know. I couldn't post, and I thought, what did I do?
That,
So,
that, that- that's okay.
I'm learning.
I put somebody for spam on late last night, and I accidentally put them on spam for a text, and now I have to unspam them. so, so I understand that for sure. I mean, so you also, by the way, have the pleasure of you got on Disney and you were with on the Muppets.
Oh, that was so great. That was a wonderful experience going to England. We were in London, and I took my mother with me on that particular trip because she loved Miss Piggy.
That is great.
And Miss Piggy wouldn't work with me. So I think she came on at the end of the show, but she wouldn't do any parts on with me. But she did come to take pictures.
Oh, that is great. That is great. How did Mom dig it? Did Mom get to meet Miss Piggy?
Oh yes, she came on it just for Mom. She came on the set and took pictures, and I think she came at the very end so she could be at the very finale.
Oh, there is. Hey, not too many people can say. There's only a handful of people in the world that can say they work with the Muppets, and I think that's really cool to to have that. Because you have a long illustrious career, but I mean that's just something really cool, and it's now so all these kids today are seeing a legendary musician like yourself on the Muppets and everything else. I think it's really cool bringing it all the way around.
It was just a special time. I mean, Jim Henson was incredible. Frank
Yes,
Oz.
ma'am.
I mean, the whole crew they were just so together. From when we got there, it was like all the fittings, the wardrobe, they were just, they had it down and made it so easy and just took great care of us.
I love that. Now, what do you have coming up, ma'am?
Basically, hopefully I'll have some concerts in the fall.
That's what I saw.
Moved. It's like, okay, am I a singer? I don't know.
Yeah, I see you got some really good tours coming up. Really good dates if they keep up in September, and everything else. That Lee Greenwood, working with Lee Greenwood and Big and Rich and everything. And I hope those concerts all come up.
That would be great. Who knows what's going to happen, but hopefully things will get back to normal soon.
Absolutely. Are you looking at going back in the studio anytime soon?
Yes, definitely. I've been doing a few different projects, and I've been looking at putting some songs that haven't been on streaming that I'd own, some of my own recordings. I don't know why I've been so late in putting them on, but we're doing all that, and it's just different stuff, different things that are, as we say, stuff.
I know
I
what
love
you
being
mean.
in
Yes,
the studio, just having fun with it. Really,
and you have a great merch page, by the way. You have some really nice items on there.
Well, thank you.
I mean, so
I love getting in there. I'll help package it up. So,
Hey, it's very
my
reasonable.
son says you use too much tape.
Hey, well, you have. It's very reasonable, and you have nice CDs, and you get autographed pictures and things like that, and nice merchandise. I think it's great that it's reasonably priced, it's personable, and everything else. And I wanted to point that out because when I was looking at it, I was like, wow, this is really cool, and it is affordable that people can get it for gifts and everything else. And I wanted to point that out to you.
Well, thank you. Well, it's something that I like to keep things reasonable, and it's I have fun with it. I like the artwork of it and all the things that go with it. But I have made so many good friends through the years, and it's great that that's one thing about touring. You get to visit with people that you've seen through the years, and that, as I say, they're great friends.
Yes, ma'am. Now, let me ask you one question. What have you been doing that's outside of music, outside of work? What's your relaxation thing that's been like to make it through the COVID and everything else that we're doing? What's been like your guilty pleasure?
Well, let me say that this past year, with everything going on with 2020, I had my second grandchild arrive.
Congratulations.
So that has been Bjorn, and he is so sweet. and hopefully I'll be able to watch him a little later today.
Oh,
You know, I have
nice.
to have my Bjorn time, you know.
Yes, ma'am.
And
What do
I
you? What,
sing to him all the time, and you know, he listens. You know, he's. I think he's going to sing too.
nice. Are you Grandma Gayle, or do you have a name, or what is, you know?
Well, my husband is Greek, so the children grew up with Yaya and Papu. So I'm a Yaya.
Nice. I love that. That's fast. Ma'am, it has been such a pleasure talking to you. I hope you come back on again. You're always welcome on the Lifebox Media Channel. What do you want to say to all your fans out there of all these years? You're in 46 countries, right? 47 countries right now. We just added one. So what do you want to say to all
Great.
your fans out there?
Well, thank you for listening to my music, and hopefully one day we'll get to say hello in person.
Ma'am, it has been such a pleasure. Ladies and gentlemen, a country music legend, Miss Crystal Gayle. You go check her out on all her social media. Ma'am, thank you so much for taking the time. It has been a true pleasure.
Oh, my pleasure. You take care.
You have a wonderful
Thank you.
day. Thank you so much.